We know that Tom Brady is going to be a big difference maker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's a leader. He changes the expectation of the organization, of the locker room. His work ethic has always been second to none. You can't find a negative thing to say about Tom Brady as it pertains to being a leader for his team. Now, you could point to, his age, his lack of a big arm, a cannon, as things that could prevent the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from advancing to where these expectations are starting to rise. Well, yesterday they made a big move, and we've all heard it by now. Leonard Fournette, after clearing waivers means nobody wanted him on his current contract. So he clears waivers and signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I believe it's a one-year deal. I don't know the exact numbers on it. It's basically a trial year. But Leonard Fournette, who was cast off by the Jacksonville Jaguars after 3 seasons. 3 seasons. You draft a guy in the top 10. In 3 seasons, you cast him off because it's not that he's not necessarily a good player, because I think he is a good runner, but there was issues there. And ultimately, he became expendable for the Jaguars. Now, maybe because the Jacksonville Jaguars are in a rebuild, even though they held on to their head coach, doesn't feel like they are in the competitive stages of their division right now. They're starting a quarterback who is a later round pick. He's interesting in Gardner Minshew. They have a couple of good pieces, D.D. Westbrook, but they've let go most of their elite talent. In fact, from that 2017, we had this conversation 2 days ago. We threw the stat out a couple days ago. From that 2017 AFC Championship game, there's 11 guys left, 53 players on a roster. 11 guys are left from that Jacksonville team. So they're clearly stripping down. A.J. Boye's gone, Jalen Ramsey's gone, and Calais Campbell. Everybody is basically moved on from them as they figure out their next moves. Leonard Fournette was just the latest. So it kind of is a negative sign on Leonard Fournette, but it's kind of also typical of what the Jacksonville Jaguars have been doing. So you can't negatively judge Leonard Fournette per se because he was cut after they couldn't find a trade partner. But when he signs with the Bucks, I listen to this all day long, and I guess I know why people are making this assertion, why they're saying, well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are Super Bowl bound or bust right now. They just signed Leonard Fournette, and it has me somewhat scratching my head. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were on a very high trajectory already, mainly because their tight end room is stacked with Gronk and Cameron Brate and Jordan Howard, not Jordan Howard, O.J. Howard, and then the receiving core with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans is loaded. Ronald Jones, who is a very good player already, is the guy who carried them. And he's strong, he's powerful, and he's busty, and even Bruce Arians, despite the signing of Leonard Fournette, says Rojo is our guy. He said this, obviously, yesterday after they signed Leonard Fournette. He said, this is his quote, when you get a player of that caliber that has great reviews, you make him fit in. He'll have a way to fit. Arians said, we just got to see how fast that will happen. But Rojo's our guy. That's Ronald Jones. Shady McCoy is ready for his role, which will probably be a bit player, third down type situational player for Shady McCoy. So it's just going to be building roles as we go along. This feels to me more like a luxury, a insurance policy, someone that you can sign for not a ton of money. That if your starting running back gets hurt, you have a guy who has experience as a starter in that running back room, and you're not scrambling. I mean, what's interesting is this kind of reminds me of fantasy football teams. I mean, how many fantasy football owners out there have drafted 2 really good running backs, whoever it may be, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, and one of them gets hurt. And all of a sudden, you're sitting in the middle of your season and you're screwed because there's no running backs available in your fantasy league. Nobody's going to trade their running back to you because running backs are valuable in fantasy sports, and so you're just left in a lurch. But if you were smart, in the beginning of your, season when you were drafting, you probably take that insurance running back at some point and stash him, probably like in the 4th round. Randomly, you pick a running back, and people are scratching their head. You already got a couple. Why are you doing that? It's for insurance. And I think that's what Leonard Fournette is for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's an insurance policy. So while I saw all of this commentary that he was going to be the difference maker in this Buccaneers offense, he's probably not even going to play for a couple of weeks as he tries to get up to speed to this Buccaneers offense. And let's not forget, Ronald Jones has been there, and he was really good last year. Shady McCoy he's a legend. He's probably outside of the Hall of Fame conversation, but Shady McCoy is a damn good player as well. Obviously, he's at the end of his career, but still, he's there. And so Leonard Fournette is a luxury for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to add on to all of that talent that they already have. But I don't see this as the last piece of the puzzle that puts them on this Super Bowl trajectory. And the reason is really just their division. All you got to do is you look no farther than what's happening in their division around them. Obviously, the New Orleans Saints are the class of the NFC South right now. Now, they'll be challenged significantly because the NFC South has players all the way around. The Carolina Panthers probably aren't going to be competing for the division title, but they're a team that could surprise you and beat you because they have Christian McCaffrey, who is a game changer in a lot of ways, but one guy can't do it alone. But when you look at the division, this is the Saints division. This is as long as they keep Alvin Kamara happy and get a deal done with him when he's back in camp and they don't trade him. They have weapons. They have a quarterback in Drew Brees who, despite being 40 or 41 years old, still has it. He still has the ability to lead his team, and Sean Payton's one of the best coaches in the National Football League. And then you look at Matt Ryan in the Atlanta Falcons, and Todd Gurley is now there. If he has anything left in his tank, it creates of such a dynamic offense in Atlanta. And if they, with luck, stay healthy defensively, the division is not going to be easy for Tom Brady. So again, I'll go back to what I've always thought with guys who get cut at the end of camp, whatever the circumstances are. In this case, it could be part Leonard Fournette being a little bit of a headache, and another part it could just be because the Jacksonville Jaguars are lost right now and they're trying to find their way. And we've seen teams do this to some success. The Miami Dolphins did it a couple of years ago when they, actually last year, when they shipped out almost all of their expensive starters on that team, including Minkah Fitzpatrick, and ultimately they started playing better at the end of the year. So I mean, I can't look at this signing and say this is a home run. I think it's an insurance policy. He's not going to be in line for heavy carries. He's not going to be the difference maker that he's being made out to be. He's a good player. And if someone gets hurt, he's a hell of a backup. And for Leonard Fournette, it makes all the sense in the world because you need a bridge year. You're still young. He's still very young. You need a bridge year, so to speak. You're going to go to Tampa. You might get the opportunity to get some carries, and maybe if some circumstances go your way, you become more of a force down the line for this team. You're playing with Tom Brady and this roster full of stars, a head coach who's a superstar as well, and Bruce Arians, an up-and-coming offensive coordinator, and Byron Leftwich, and the division is going to be competitive. Oh, and it's in Florida, where you went to school down there. So, I mean, of course, this was the right move for Leonard Fournette. I think it was a good move for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I can't see it as something that's going to be a game changer for this team. They have so many other issues to worry about. Yes, their defense was good last year, and Shaq Barrett led the league in sacks, and hopefully JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, becomes more of an impact player on that side of the ball. But their secondary is really young. They're going to have to score points because of the teams that they play in their division, the Saints and the Falcons in particular. So this is going to be an offensive heavy division. Ultimately, maybe Tom Brady is that extra, gives that extra whatever it is that puts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the top. But there's so many other issues that they need to worry about other than running back. So Leonard Fournette is a great signing because he's good insurance, but he's not the difference maker I think that a lot of people are making him out to be. I like him. I liked him in high school. I liked him in college, even though he was hurt a lot. And even the last couple of years in Jacksonville, he surprises you with how hard he runs. He's not dynamic like Saquon Barkley or Dalvin Cook or Christian McCaffrey, any of these players that we're talking about, but he's not an incapable pass catcher. It's a good signing. That's all I can put it at. And I don't think it puts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the top like a lot of people are trying to position the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just because they signed Leonard Fournette. You know what it does? It creates another name. It's another name. It's the all-paper champion in the NFC South. You got studs at every position except for the ones that matter. Secondary, which we all know in a passing league, is critical. And then an offensive line that's got to protect the quarterback who can't move. He's aged and aging still in Tom Brady. We saw how rough that was on Jameis Winston last season. It's not going to be any better for Tom Brady. So good move by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to sign Leonard Fournette. But other than that, I'm not going to get overly excited about signing Leonard Fournette.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.